What if I told you that everything you've been taught about manifesting your desires is backwards? That the harder you try, the further away your dreams become, and that the secret to getting everything you want has nothing to do with working harder, visualizing longer, or even believing stronger. I know this sounds impossible. After all, we've been conditioned to believe that reality is fixed, that circumstances are concrete, and that we must bend to the world around us. But here's the uncomfortable truth that mystics have whispered about for centuries. Reality isn't ignoring you. You've been paying too much attention to it. And that attention is exactly what's keeping you stuck. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Now, let me ask you something personal. Has this ever happened to you? You set a goal. You write it down. You visualize it every morning. You repeat affirmations until your voice goes hoarse zero. And yet nothing changes. Or worse, things seem to move in the opposite direction. You look around at your current circumstances. The bank account that won't budge, the relationship that won't heal, the opportunity that won't arrive. And you think, maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe I need to try harder. But what if trying harder is the problem? What if your very acknowledgement of what is the invisible chain keeping you locked in place? There's a frequency that exists beneath everything you can see, touch, or measure. Scientists can't detect it with their instruments. Skeptics can't explain it with their logic. And most people will live their entire lives without ever tuning into it. This isn't some mystical fantasy or new age wishful thinking. This is about understanding how your emotional state literally broadcasts a signal into the quantum field of infinite possibilities, and how that field responds with mathematical precision to the tone you're retransmitting. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might completely shatter everything you thought you knew about manifestation, success, and even reality itself. The people who've mastered this aren't special. They aren't more gifted. And they definitely aren't luckier than you. They've simply learned to do something that sounds almost too simple to work. They've learned to ignore the evidence of their current reality and attune themselves to a different frequency altogether. Your emotions aren't just feelings. They're the control panel of your entire existence. Every sensation you experience is either pulling you toward alignment with what you desire or pushing you further away from it. And here's where it gets fascinating. The universe doesn't respond to your words, your vision boards, or even your most passionate prayers. It responds only to the vibration you're emitting in this exact moment. So the real question isn't whether this works. The question is, are you ready to stop letting your current circumstances dictate your emotional frequency, and instead let your emotional frequency dictate your circumstances? Because once you understand how to flip this switch, everything in your world begins to rearrange itself as if by magic. But it's not magic at all. It's physics. It's the science of vibration meeting the art of inner alignment, and it's been working for people quietly, powerfully, and consistently, while the rest of the world keeps pushing, forcing, and exhausting themselves trying to make things happen. Here's what nobody tells you about manifestation. It is not about commanding the universe like some cosmic vending machine where you insert your affirmations and out pops your dream life. That entire approach is built on a fundamental misunderstanding of how energy actually works. When you try to force something into existence, when you grip your desires with white knuckles and demand that reality bend to your will, you're actually creating resistance. You're broadcasting a frequency of lack, of desperation, of I don't have this yet and I need it now. And the universe, being the perfect mirror that it is, reflects that exact energy right back to you. More lack, more waiting, more frustration. But resonance works differently. Think about how a tuning fork operates. You strike one fork, and suddenly, without any physical contact, another fork across the room begins to vibrate at the same frequency. That's not force. That's harmony. That's alignment. That's the hidden mechanism behind every single thing you've ever manifested in your life, whether you realized it or not. The job interview that fell into your lap when you finally stopped stressing about it. The relationship that bloomed the moment you genuinely felt complete on your own. The money that showed up right after you made peace with your current situation. None of these were coincidences. They were resonance in action. If you're serious about mastering this frequency and unlocking more of these hidden truths, hit that subscribe button. This is where we go beyond surface-level manifestation and into the real mechanics of reality creation. You don't want to miss what's coming next. You see, when you release those heavy energies of control and worry, something extraordinary happens. Your entire being becomes transparent, not weak, not passive, but transparent in the sense that you're no longer blocking the flow of creation with your resistance. It's like clearing debris from a stream so the water can rush through freely. Your desires do not need to be forced into form because they already encoded in the frequency you're re-emitting. They're drawn to you through the magnetic harmony of your vibration. The same way ion filings arrange themselves around a magnet, effortlessly, naturally, inevitably. And this is where the real transformation begins, where the truth becomes almost uncomfortable in its simplicity. You are not separate from the creative force of the universe. You're not a small, powerless human begging at the feet of some distant deity or impersonal cosmic mechanism. You are the creative force itself, made conscious, made aware, made capable of directing its own expression. Every single thought you think, every emotion you feel, every subtle shift in your internal state sends waves through the invisible fabric of reality. These aren't metaphorical waves. They're actual disturbances in the quantum field, ripples of probability that begin arranging circumstances, people, and opportunities according to the tone you sustain. This is why willpower alone never works in the long run. This is why positive thinking without emotional alignment falls flat. This is why you coo and think your way into a different reality, while feeling your way deeper into the old one. The power you're looking for doesn't unlock through domination of the outer world, through 12-hour workdays, through networking until you're exhausted, or through trying to control every variable in your environment. It unlocks through mastery of the inner world, through the subtle art of maintaining a frequency that matches what you desire, rather than what you currently see. Now, I want to go even deeper into this, because here's where most people get tripped up. And it's probably the exact place where you've been stuck without even realizing it. If what I'm sharing resonates with you so far, write in the comments, "I'm ready to shift my frequency." You've been trying to change your external circumstances while leaving your internal state completely untouched. You've been attempting to build a new life on top of an old frequency, and wondering why the foundation keeps cracking. It is like trying to tune into a radio station while standing next to a massive source of interference. You might catch fragments of the signal, brief moments where things seem to be working, but then the static comes rushing back, and you're left confused, wondering what went wrong. The truth is that your breath holds more creative power than any action you could take in the physical world. I know that sounds abstract, almost mystical, but stay with me because this is where theory becomes practice, where philosophy becomes transformation. Every single morning before you check your phone, before you start rehearsing your worries, before you begin cataloging everything that's wrong in your life, you have a choice. You can inhale the energy of your current circumstances, breathing in more of what already exists. Or you can consciously choose to breathe in something entirely different. Golden light, if you want to call it that. Pure potential. The frequency of your desired reality. Not as some fantasy or escape, but as the actual substance from which your next 24 hours will be constructed. This is Yuante about pretending your problems don't exist or engaging in some form of spiritual bypassing, where you plaster positivity over genuine pain. This is about understanding that the energy you absorb in those first conscious moments sets the tone for everything that follows. When you breathe in heaviness, you broadcast heaviness. When you breathe in possibility, you become a magnet for opportunity. It's mechanical, it's predictable, and within days, not months or years, but days, you'll notice the shift. Doors opening where there were only walls, people responding to you differently. Circumstances rearranging themselves with a synchronicity that would seem impossible if you hadn't experienced it yourself. But here's the piece that completes the puzzle. The missing link that explains why so many people fail at manifestation despite doing all the right techniques. You can visualize until your eyes hurt. You can affirm until your voice goes hoarse. You can create vision boards that cover every wall of your house. But if your emotional frequency doesn't match your words, you're broadcasting a contradictory signal into the universe, and contradictory signals cancel each other out. It's like pressing the accelerator and the brake at the same time, then wondering why your car isn't moving. The universe is not listening to your prayers in the traditional sense. It's not passing your words, analyzing your vocabulary, or grading you on the eloquence of your requests. It's reading your vibration, your emotional signature, the feeling tone beneath everything you say and do. When you speak words of peace, while your chest is tight with anxiety. When you declare abundance, while your stomach churns with scarcity. When you affirm confidence, while your shoulders slump with defeat. You're not manifesting. You're creating energetic noise. You're jamming your own signal in the universe. Receiving mixed messages, responds with mixed results, or no results at all. This is why authentic faith has nothing to do with believing harder or forcing yourself to feel. Something you do, UNT. Real faith is the natural byproduct of alignment. The inevitable result when your spoken intention and your emotional frequency finally merge into a single coherent transmission. It's not about faking it until you make it. It's about tuning yourself like an instrument until there is no discord between what you're saying and what you're feeling, between who you representing to the world and who you actually are in the quiet moments when no one is watching. And when that alignment happens, when your words and your emotions finally sing the same song, something shifts in the invisible architecture of reality. Suddenly, you're not begging for change. You're not hoping for transformation. You're embodying it. An embodiment is the language the universe understands best. But to reach that level of coherence, there is something else you need to understand about the role your emotions actually play in this entire process. If this is landing for you, drop a comment saying, "My words and feelings are becoming one." Your emotions aren't side effects of your life. They're not passive reactions to what's happening around you, waiting for circumstances to improve before they're allowed to shift. This is the part where most people have it completely backwards, and it's costing them everything they want. You've been taught that you'll feel better when things get better, that joy comes after success, that peace arrives once the problems are solved. That's like saying the sun will rise after it gets light outside. You've got the sequence reversed, and that reversal is the invisible barrier between you and everything you desire. Your emotional state is the frequency that shapes your reality, not the other way around. Think of it like this. Every feeling you experience acts as a tuning, a fork vibrating at a specific rate, and that vibration ripples outward through the field of infinite possibility. Other experiences, opportunities, and circumstances that match that same frequency begin to vibrate in response. It's sympathetic resonance, the same principle that makes piano strings hum when you sing the right note near them. You're not attracting experiences because you're lucky or because you've earned them through suffering. You're attracting them because you've matched their frequency. And in a universe governed by resonance, matching frequencies find each other with mathematical precision. When you align yourself with joy, even before there's any logical reason to feel joyful, you're doing something that looks insane to the rational mind, but makes perfect sense to the quantum field. You're broadcasting a signal that says, "I am already complete. I am already abundant. I am already living in the reality I desire." And the universe, being the perfect mirror that it is, has no choice but to reflect that frequency back to you in the form of circumstances that match it. This is why people who seem to have everything going wrong can suddenly turn their entire life around, not by working harder or getting luckier, but by making a single decision to shift their emotional frequency regardless of what their current reality looks like. Now, here's where it gets really interesting, where the hidden mechanics of manifestation reveal themselves in a way that changes everything. Success doesn't follow joy as a reward for being positive. Joy is the precondition for success. It's the electromagnetic signature that calls opportunities into your experience. When you tune yourself to delight before anything external is changed, you become a walking beacon, a lighthouse, transmitting a signal that says, "I'm available for miracles. I'm open to synchronicity. I'm aligned with abundance." And that signal travels faster than any action you could take, any networking. You could do any strategy you could implement. The universe is not responding to your need. Need vibrates at a low frequency, the frequency of lack, of incompleteness, of desperation. The universe responds to your vibration, and the vibration of joy says, "I have already received. I am already whole. I am already in the flow." That's the frequency where manifestation happens fastest, where opportunities appear out of nowhere, where the right people show up at the right time, saying the right things. Not because you manipulated reality, but because you stopped resisting it. You stopped broadcasting the static of desperation and started transmitting the clear signal of alignment. If something clicked for you here, if you felt that shift in understanding, show some love with a like on this video. It helps this message reach others who are ready for it. and it lets me know we're aligned on the same frequency. This is the journey that separates those who manifest consistently from those who struggle, despite doing all the techniques. It's not about trying harder. It's about feeling differently first, before the evidence appears, before logic approves, before anyone else believes you. It's about becoming so committed to your emotional frequency that you're willing to choose joy, even when your bank account suggests fear, even when your circumstances suggest worry, even when every reasonable person around you thinks you've lost your mind. Because in those moments when you choose your frequency, despite the evidence, you're exercising a level of creative power that most people never access in their entire lifetime. And there's something else happening beneath the surface when you make this shift. Something that explains why some people seem to manifest effortlessly while others exhaust themselves trying. If you're starting to see how powerful this really is, come in. I choose my frequency first. The difference comes down to a single word that most people completely misunderstand. Allowing, and I am not talking about some passive defeated acceptance where you just give up and let life happen to you. I'm talking about something far more powerful, something that looks like surrender, but is actually the highest form of creative intelligence in action. Because here's what nobody tells you about resistance. Every ounce of energy you spend trying to control how things unfold is energy that is creating friction in your field. And that friction lowers your vibration so significantly that you literally repel the very things you trying to force into existence. Think about how exhausting it feels when you're micromanaging every detail of your life, when you're trying to control the timing, the method, the exact pathway through which your desires must arrive. You're not just tired physically. You're energetically depleted because resistance is one of the most expensive frequencies to maintain. It's like trying to swim upstream while carrying weights, wondering why you're not making progress. The river wants to carry you. The current is moving in your favor, but you're so busy trying to control the exact route, so fixated on making it happen your way that you've made yourself unavailable to the effortless grace that is trying to reach you. When you release your grip on control, something extraordinary happens. You don't fall into chaos. You don't lose your power. You enter the stream of universal flow. And in that stream, solutions appear that your limited perspective could never have engineered. Opportunities arise from directions you weren't even looking. People show up with exactly what you need, at exactly the right moment, and it all feels easy. Natural. Inevitable because you've stopped interfering with the intelligence that has been trying to orchestrate your life all along. This is the hidden truth behind every miracle you've ever witnessed. The person wasn't controlling anything. They were allowing everything. This shift in mindset is where real transformation begins, where you move from force to faith, from effort to flow. The field of infinite possibility that surrounds you, that contains every version of your life simultaneously, doesn't respond to how hard you push. It responds to how deeply you trust. It orchestrates through relaxed attention, not tense effort. Think about the moments in your life when things worked out perfectly, when the timing was so precise it gave you chills, when circumstances aligned in ways that seemed almost orchestrated by an invisible intelligence. Were you straining in those moments? Were you desperately trying to control every variable? Or had you perhaps, without realizing it, relaxed into a state of allowing where the universe could finally do what it has been trying to do all along? Your resistance is interference. It's static in the signal. It's noise in the transmission and your attempts at control. No matter how well-intentioned, are actually limitations, masquerading as power. You're trying to fit infinite possibility into the narrow container of what your logical mind thinks is possible, practical, or probable. But the intelligence that orchestrates galaxies, that coordinates the migration of birds across continents, that keeps your heart beating without your conscious effort, has access to pathways and solutions that your rational mind can't even conceive of. By releasing both your resistance and your need to control, you're not giving up. In power, you're accessing a far greater power, one that's been waiting patiently for you to get out of your own way. This is the journey from striving to thriving, from pushing to receiving, from exhaustion to ease. And once you understand that allowing is not weakness, but wisdom, that trust is not naivety, but alignment with the natural order of creation, everything changes. Not because you've worked harder, but because you've finally stopped working against yourself. But there's still one more piece to this puzzle, one more revelation that ties everything together. If this resonates with where you are right now, write in the comments. I'm releasing control and trusting the flow. That final piece is gratitude. but not the kind of gratitude you've been taught. Not the obligatory thank you that you mumble when someone holds the door open. Not the forced positivity where you list 3 things you're grateful for while your chest is tight with resentment. I am talking about gratitude as a frequency, as a state of being, as the highest form of allowing that exists in the human experience. Because when you truly appreciate something, when you bless it with your full attention and genuine warmth, you're doing something that operates on a level most people never access. You're activating a universal law that says what you bless multiplies. This isn't some feel-good philosophy or New Age wishful thinking. This is mechanics. When you maintain the vibration of appreciation, when you hold that frequency consistently, the universe has no choice but to bring you more experiences that match it. Not because you've earned them, not because you've been good enough, but because like attracts like with the same certainty that gravity pulls objects toward Earth. You're literally creating a magnetic field around yourself that draws in more of what you're appreciating, and the universe responds to that signal with precision. That would seem miraculous if you didn't understand the depth mechanics behind it. But here's where it gets even more profound, where science and spirituality merge into something that changes how you see everything. Gratitude doesn't just make you feel better emotionally. It rewires your nervous system at a biological level. It literally changes the neural pathways in your brain, creating new connections that make it easier to spot opportunities, recognize synchronicities, and stay open to possibilities that your previous wiring would have filtered out as irrelevant noise. Your brain operating in a state of genuine appreciation becomes a different instrument entirely tuned to frequencies it couldn't access before. And simultaneously on the quantum level, something equally extraordinary is happening. The patterns of possibility that surround you, the infinite field of potential outcomes that exist in superposition until you collapse them through observation, begin to reorganize themselves around your frequency of gratitude. Each genuine thank you isn't just a nice sentiment. It's a key, a specific vibrational signature that unlocks another door in the infinite hallway of potential. And as you move through your day, genuinely appreciating what's already here, you're not just acknowledging the present, you're drawing the future toward you, pulling miracles from the realm of possibility into the realm of experience through the magnetic power of appreciation itself. This is why people who practice real gratitude, not performative thankfulness, but genuine appreciation that emanates from their core, seem to live in a different reality than everyone else. Things work out for them. Opportunities find them. Resources appear exactly when needed. And it's not because they're special or chosen or lucky. It is because they've activated a law of the universe that operates with the same reliability as any physical law. What you appreciate appreciates. What you bless expands. What you give genuine attention to grows in your experience. Not sometimes, not if you're worthy, but every single time. Because that's how energy works. The transformation that happens when you shift from wanting to appreciating is instant and total. You're no longer broadcasting lack. You're no longer vibrating at the frequency of I don't have enough. You've moved into the frequency of look at all that's already here. And that shift, subtle as it seems, is the difference between a life of endless striving and a life where abundance flows naturally. But to make this shift stick, to move from intellectual understanding to lived experience, there's a practice that changes everything when you apply it consistently. If you're ready to activate this level of magnetic attraction, comment, I'm grateful for what's coming. That practice begins with understanding something radical about the nature of your thoughts. You've been treating them as if they're solid things, as if they're problems to be solved or enemies to be defeated. But your thoughts aren't burdens weighing you down. They're notes in an endless symphony, vibrations moving through your consciousness. And the moment you recognize them as energy rather than truth, everything shifts. You're no longer at war with your own mind. You've become the conductor of your inner orchestra. And conducting doesn't mean forcing every instrument to play the same note. It means gentle awareness, allowing discord to resolve naturally into harmony without the resistance that keeps you stuck. When a thought of doubt arises, you don't have to fight it. When worry shows up, you don't have to suppress it or pretend it's not there. You simply recognize it as a vibration, a frequency passing through, and you gently adjust the tone. You don't force positivity on top of negativity. You allow the natural resolution that happens when you stop resisting what is. It's like watching a wave in the ocean. You don't try to stop the wave. You don't judge yourself for the wave existing. You simply observe it and it passes, and another one comes. And eventually the waters calm on their own. because that's what water does when you stop disturbing it. This is the transformation that separates people who change their lives from people who stay stuck repeating affirmations that never land. Because here's the hidden truth that nobody talks about. Words alone hold absolutely no power. Zero. You can stand in front of a mirror and say, "I am abundant," 10,000 times. And if the feeling tone beneath those words is still vibrating at the frequency of lack, you've accomplished nothing except wasting your breath and reinforcing the very frequency you're trying to escape. Affirmations transform from empty echoes into songs of creation only when something fundamental shifts inside you. Only when you allow yourself to actually feel the truth of what you're re-speaking while you're re-speaking it. Not fake it, not pretend, not perform for an imaginary audience, but genuinely let your body, your nervous system, your entire energetic field resonate with the frequency of those words. That's when language becomes alchemy. That's when speaking becomes manifesting. That's when your voice carries the same creative power that spoke worlds into existence. Because in that moment of alignment, you're not just saying words, you're transmitting a frequency that reality itself recognizes and responds to. This is belief as resonance, not belief as intellectual agreement. You can intellectually agree that you deserve abundance while your cells are vibrating at the frequency of scarcity. You can logically understand that you're worthy of love while your heart is broadcasting unworthiness. The split between what you think you believe and what you actually embody is the gap where manifestation goes to die. But when you close that gap, when your words and your frequency finally sing the same song, you become unstoppable. If you're beginning to understand the real power you've been carrying all along, right? My frequency is my creation. Now, here's something that's going to sound almost too simple to be true, but it's one of the most powerful secrets hiding in plain sight. The weight of your thoughts literally shapes the substance of your reality, not metaphorically, not symbolically, literally. When your thoughts are heavy, laden with pessimism, drenched in seriousness and worry, the very field of possibility around you becomes dense. It's like trying to move through thick mud. Opportunities that would normally flow to you get stuck. Synchronicities that would naturally occur freeze in place. The energy becomes so thick, so resistant, that manifestation slows to a crawl or stops altogether. But when you hold your thoughts with lightness, when you approach your desires with a sense of playfulness instead of desperate seriousness, something magical happens. Your desires begin to float freely in the field of infinite possibility. They become untethered from the gravity of your anxiety. They stop being weighed down by the heavy expectation of this has to work or else. And in that lightness, in that spaciousness, miracles have room to enter. Not because you've worked harder or tried more techniques, but because you've removed the energetic density that was blocking them in the first place. This is why laughter is one of the most underrated tools for manifestation that exists. Your laughter doesn't just make you feel better temporarily. It literally dissolves the density of your energetic field. It breaks up the stuck energy, the frozen patterns, the crystallized beliefs that have been keeping you locked in place. And if you want proof of how powerful this is, just watch children. They manifest constantly. They decide they want something, and somehow, some way it shows up. Not because they're using advanced techniques, or because they understand quantum physics. They manifest easily because they have yearned yet learned to burden their dreams with the gravity of adult seriousness. A child's playful state is perfectly aligned with the universe's creative force. They haven't been taught that wanting is shameful, that dreaming is foolish, that joy must be earned through suffering first. They exist in a natural state of delight, and from that state, creation responds instantly. They're showing you the path of least resistance, the frequency where manifestation happens fastest and most effortlessly. And that path isn't through more discipline, more control, more seriousness. It's through rediscovering the lightness you abandoned when someone convinced you that life had to be hard. This is the journey back to your natural, creative power. The return to a state where manifesting isn't work, but play. Where desires aren't desperate needs, but exciting possibilities. Where the entire process of creation feels like dancing instead of climbing. And once you understand that seriousness is the enemy of manifestation, that heaviness repels exactly what lightness attracts, you're ready for the next revelation. If this is shifting your perspective right now, comment, "I choose lightness over seriousness." That revelation is this: all the power you've been searching for in future outcomes, in better circumstances, in the moment when everything finally falls into place, already exists right here in the eternal now. The present moment vibrates at the highest frequency available to you because it exists undivided by thought. It's not contaminated by regret about the past or anxiety about the future. It's pure, concentrated, creative energy. And when you fully inhabit it, when you bring your complete awareness into this breath, this heartbeat, this exact instant, you align with the universe's creative force itself, not with some diluted version of it, with the full power of creation operating at maximum capacity. Most people are never actually here. They're mentally living 3 months from now when things will supposedly be better. Or they're replaying last year when things went wrong. And in that split attention, in that fragmentation of consciousness, they're bleeding energy like a battery with 1,000 tiny leaks. They wonder why manifestation feels so difficult, why opportunities seem so far away, not realizing that they're trying to create from a fractured state. But you can't build a future from anywhere except the present. This moment is the only launching pad that exists, the only place where decisions actually get made, where energy actually moves, where reality actually shifts. Each breath you take in conscious presence raises your vibration more powerfully than 1,000 meticulously planned tomorrows. Because planning, while it has its place, often becomes a sophisticated form of escape. You're so busy arranging the furniture of your future that you're not actually living in the house of your present. And the universe can only meet you where you are, not where you think you'll be someday. When you align with the present moment, you align with natural abundance, with the flow of life as it actually is, rather than as you wish it were, or fear it might become. This is the paradox that stops most people in their tracks. The future you're desperately trying to reach is being constructed right now through the quality of your presence, not through the intensity of your planning, not through the sophistication of your strategy, through how fully you show up in this moment with the frequency you want to experience later. If you want abundance in your future, you embody the feeling of abundance now. If you want peace 6 months from now, you cultivate peace in this breath. The timeline isn't linear the way you've been taught. It's holographic. Every moment contains all moments, and the one you're in right now is seeding everything that follows. Rushing creates resistance because it's a form of rejection. You're essentially saying to this moment, you're not enough. You're not where I want to be. Get me to the next thing faster. And that rejection of what is creates friction in your field. But when you breathe into the now, when you let yourself be completely here without needing it to be different, something opens. The path forward becomes clear. Not because you figured it out, but because you stopped blocking the guidance that was always trying to reach you. If you're feeling this shift into presence, right? I am here now. Fully. Now, there's something you need to understand about the energetic baggage you've been carrying. And this might be uncomfortable to hear, but it's essential for your transformation. Every resentment, every grudge, every story about who wronged you and how you were hurt creates an invisible cord connecting you to that person, that event, that moment in time, and through that cord, energy drains constantly. You think you're protecting yourself by holding on to the pain, by remembering what happened, by keeping the evidence fresh in your mind. But what you're actually doing is keeping yourself energetically tethered to the very frequency you're trying to escape. Forgiveness isn't what you think it is. It is not about letting someone off the hook or pretending that what happened was okay or inviting toxic people back into your life. Forgiveness is an energetic release, a decision to cut those invisible cords so that your energy can flow freely again. When you forgive, you're not changing the past. That's impossible. What you're changing is your relationship with it. And in changing that relationship, you transform your future by freeing yourself from the lower frequencies that have been anchoring you in place. This is one of the most misunderstood aspects of manifestation because people think forgiveness is about the other person. Eat this? Not. It's entirely about you. About reclaiming the energy you've been bleeding into past events. About releasing the weight that's been lowering your vibration without you even realizing it. Every unresolved resentment is like carrying a backpack full of stones. You can try to manifest abundance, love, success while carrying that weight, but you're operating at a handicap. The moment you release those stones, the moment you forgive, not because anyone deserves it, but because you deserve freedom, your entire energetic field lightens, and your natural attracting power amplifies instantly. And once that happens, once you've cleared the heavy frequencies of resentment and hurt, you're finally ready to access one of the most powerful tools for rapid manifestation that exists: pure, appreciation. Not the performative gratitude where you list things you should be thankful for. Not the forced positivity where you pretend everything is fine when it's not. I'm talking about genuine appreciation. The kind that arises when you recognize the inherent sacredness in every single moment, every breath, every experience. Appreciation vibrates at one of the highest frequencies available to human consciousness. When you truly appreciate something, when you allow yourself to be moved by the simple beauty of existence, you're aligning with the same creative force that's bringing all things into being. This isn't about finding reasons to be grateful. It's about discovering what's always been there, the sacred nature of reality itself, hiding in plain sight behind your judgments and stories and complaints. And when you tap into that frequency, when you let appreciation become your default state rather than an occasional practice, you open gateways to possibilities that were previously invisible to you. If you're ready to release the past and embrace what's sacred right now, comment, "I forgive and I appreciate." Now, here's something that'll completely change how you approach manifestation. You have a tool at your disposal right now that can shift your entire frequency in seconds, and you've been overlooking it your entire life. Your breath, not just as a biological function, not just as something happening automatically in the background, but as the most direct and immediate tool for adjusting your vibrational state. While thoughts can take days or even weeks to fully reshape your energy field, while emotions can linger and resist transformation, a single conscious breath can transform your frequency instantly. This is because breath exists in the eternal present. You can't breathe in the past. You can't breathe in the future. Every breath is happening now in this moment, which means it's carrying the full power of the present. When you breathe consciously, when you draw air in with awareness and release it with intention, you're not just oxygenating your body. You're recalibrating your entire nervous system, resetting your emotional state, and sending a direct message to the universe about what frequency you're choosing to occupy. This is immediate access to transformation available to you in any moment, regardless of what's happening around you. But breathing consciously is only half of the equation. The other half is understanding what you're breathing into, and this is where imagination becomes far more than just daydreaming or fantasy. The universe doesn't respond to what you see with your physical eyes, to the circumstances currently surrounding you, to the evidence that logic would use to predict your future. It responds to your inner vision, to the images you're holding in your mind's eye, to the blueprints you're creating in the invisible studio of your consciousness. When you visualize something with clarity and feeling, when you paint your desires in vivid detail within your imagination, you're not just wishing or hoping. You're creating an energetic template, a blueprint from which physical reality takes its form. And the more you sustain that visualization, the more you return to it with feeling and presence, the more resonance you create in the physical world. The quantum field begins organizing itself around your internal image, drawing circumstances, people, and opportunities into alignment with what you've been consistently holding in your mind. This is why vague wishes don't manifest, but clear visions do. This is why people who can feel and see their desires as already real attract them with a speed that seems impossible to those still waiting for permission from external circumstances. Your imagination isn't separate from reality. It's the place where reality originates, the workshop where possibilities are shaped before they crystallize into form. And when you combine conscious breathing with sustained visualization, when you breathe into your vision as if it's already here, you're using the two most powerful tools for instant manifestation that exist. If this is clicking into place for you, write in the comments, "I breathe my vision into reality." But here's where most people stumble with visualization, and it is the difference between creating pretty mental pictures that go nowhere and activating the full creative power of your consciousness. Visualization without emotion is just imagination. It's entertainment for your mind, a pleasant distraction, but it's not manifestation. Real visualization requires full sensory engagement, a complete immersion where you're not just watching your desire from a distance, but experiencing it with every sense available to you. See your desire in vivid color, so real that you could reach out and touch it. Feel it completely. Let the emotions of already having it flood through your body until your nervous system cooey and tell the difference between vision and reality. Taste its sweetness. Hear its music. Smell the air of that accomplished future. When you engage all your senses in this way, when you let every cell in your body vibrate with the knowing that what you re-envisioning already exists in the quantum field and is simply waiting to be called forth into physical form, You're not pretending. You're tuning your entire being to the exact frequency of what you desire. And the universe has no choice but to respond to that coherent signal. This is where trust becomes everything, where the journey separates those who manifest occasionally from those who do it consistently. The universe doesn't respond to desperation. It doesn't respond to begging, pleading, or the frantic energy of, please let this work. Those frequencies carry doubt encoded within them, and doubt creates static in your signal. What the universe responds to is the steady pulse of certainty from your deepest knowing, the quiet confidence that comes not from blind faith, but from understanding how energy actually works. Each time you revisit your vision with unwavering trust, not hope, but knowing, you strengthen its magnetic pull on physical circumstances. You're not trying to convince the universe. You're not performing for some cosmic judge who might grant your wish if you're good enough. You're simply maintaining a frequency, holding a signal steady, and allowing the laws of resonance to do what they do naturally. Like a radio tower broadcasting continuously, your consistent vision sends out waves that physical reality begins to organize itself around. Not because you're forcing it, but because that's how the fabric of existence operates. When you understand its mechanics, this level of trust isn't something you manufacture or fake. It grows clear's throat naturally as you begin to see evidence of how precisely the universe responds to your frequency. Small synchronicities at first, then larger confirmations until you reach a point where trust isn't effort anymore. It's simply how you operate, the natural state of someone who has witnessed their inner world reshaping their outer one enough times to know it as not coincidence, but law. If you're stepping into this level of knowing, comment, I trust what I cannot yet see. Now, here's a mistake that's costing you more manifestation power than almost anything else. And it's so common that you probably don't even realize you're doing it. You're scattering your energy across a dozen different desires, worrying about multiple outcomes simultaneously, trying to manifest your career and your relationship and your finances and your health all at once with equal intensity. And in that dispersion, in that divided attention, you're diluting the very power that could transform any single one of those areas completely. Think about sunlight for a moment. Spread across a surface, it warms but doesn't ignite. But take that same sunlight and focus it through a magnifying glass, concentrating all those rays into a single point, and suddenly you have enough power to start a fire. That's exactly what happens with your intention, dispersed across multiple concerns. It creates a general warmth, a vague sense that maybe something will shift eventually. But focus. This is why people who achieve extraordinary results in one area of life often seem to neglect everything else temporarily. They're not being unbalanced or irresponsible. They're understanding something fundamental about how manifestation actually works. Concentrated energy manifests with exponentially greater power than dispersed attention. When you try to hold 10 intentions with equal weight, you end up manifesting none of them, manifesting all of them weakly. But when you choose one, when you pour your full vibrational offering into a single clear desire, magic happens. And here's what's fascinating. When you direct your frequency toward one pure intention, free from the static of worry and the noise of divided focus, you create a signal so clear that the universe can respond to it with surgical precision. You're not sending mixed messages anymore. You're rebroadcasting one strong, coherent frequency, and everything in the quantum field that matches that frequency begins moving toward you. But even more remarkable, those secondary concerns you thought you had to focus on separately start aligning themselves naturally around your central intention. It is as if solving one thing with complete focus creates a ripple effect that organizes everything else without you having to force it. This doesn't mean you ignore other areas of life or pretend they don't matter. It means you understand that trying to force 10 things at once creates interference, while mastering one thing with pure intention creates a vortex that pulls everything else into harmony. Your focus frequency becomes the organizing principle around which your entire reality begins to restructure itself. If you're ready to focus your power instead of scattering it, write one clear intention, infinite power. But focused intention without action is just wishful thinking. And here's where another critical misunderstanding trips people up. There's a huge difference between forced action and inspired action, and confusing the two is why so many people exhaust themselves working hard while getting nowhere. The universe does speak to you constantly, through whispers of inspiration, subtle nudges, gentle impulses that say, go here, call this person, try that thing. But its language requires your movement to complete the circuit. Inspiration without action is like having half a conversation. The universe speaks, and you nod but never respond. When you align with joy first, when you tune yourself to that frequency of delight and ease before you take any action at all, something transformative happens. The actions that arise from that state aren't forced. They don't feel like obligations or strategies. They feel natural, obvious, even exciting. You're recreating a bridge between the unseen realm where your desire already exists and the physical world where it is about to materialize. And that bridge is built through effortless action that flows from alignment rather than desperation. Think of inspired action as dancing rather than marching. Marching is rigid, controlled, exhausting. It requires discipline and willpower to keep going. But dancing flows from your natural state of joy. It requires no force, no strain, no gritting your teeth and pushing through. You move because the music moves you. Because not moving would feel unnatural. That's what action looks like when it's truly inspired. When it's coming from alignment with your desire rather than fear of not having it. And you've been overlooking it your entire life. Your breath, not just as a biological function, not just as something happening automatically in the background, but as the most direct and immediate tool for adjusting your vibrational state. While thoughts can take days or even weeks to fully reshape your energy field, while emotions can linger and resist transformation, a single conscious breath can transform your frequency instantly. This is because breath exists in the eternal present. You can't breathe in the past. You can't breathe in the future. Every breath is happening now in this moment, which means it's carrying the full power of the present. When you breathe consciously, when you draw air in with awareness and release it with intention, you're not just oxygenating your body. You're recalibrating your entire nervous system, resetting your emotional state, and sending a direct message to the universe about what frequency you're choosing to occupy. This is immediate access to transformation available to you in any moment, regardless of what's happening around you. But breathing consciously is only half of the equation. The other half is understanding what you're breathing into, and this is where imagination becomes far more than just daydreaming or fantasy. The universe doesn't respond to what you see with your physical eyes, to the circumstances currently surrounding you, to the evidence that logic would use to predict your future. It responds to your inner vision, to the images you're holding in your mind's eye, to the blueprints you're creating in the invisible studio of your consciousness. When you visualize something with clarity and feeling, when you paint your desires in vivid detail within your imagination, you're not just wishing or hoping. You're creating an energetic template, a blueprint from which physical reality takes its form. And the more you sustain that visualization, the more you return to it with feeling and presence, the more resonance you create in the physical world. The quantum field begins organizing itself around your internal image, drawing circumstances, people, and opportunities into alignment with what you've been consistently holding in your mind. This is why vague wishes don't manifest, but clear visions do. This is why people who can feel and see their desires as already real attract them with a speed that seems impossible to those still waiting for permission from external circumstances. Your imagination isn't separate from reality. It's the place where reality originates, the workshop where possibilities are shaped before they crystallize into form. And when you combine conscious breathing with sustained visualization, when you breathe into your vision as if it's already here, you're using the two most powerful tools for instant manifestation that exist. If this is clicking into place for you, write in the comments, "I breathe my vision into reality." But here's where most people stumble with visualization. And it is the difference between creating pretty mental pictures that go nowhere and activating the full creative power of your consciousness. Visualization without emotion is just imagination. It's entertainment for your mind, a pleasant distraction, but it's not manifestation. Real visualization requires full sensory engagement, a complete immersion where you're not just watching your desire from a distance, but experiencing it with every sense available to you. See your desire in vivid color, so real that you could reach out and touch it. Feel it completely. And here's the profound truth that changes everything about how you approach manifestation. Each step taken from this state of harmony creates ripples far beyond its apparent size. One conversation held in a state of joy can open 10 doors. One decision made from alignment can shift your entire trajectory. Not because you worked harder or planned better, but because actions taken from the right frequency carry a momentum that actions taken from fear or obligation simply cannot generate. The universe amplifies what's already in harmony. It magnifies the signal you're broadcasting through your state of being. This is why someone can work 18-hour days and barely move the needle while another person takes one inspired action and their entire life transforms. It's not about the quantity of movement. It's about the quality of the frequency from which that movement originates. When you act from joy, from inspiration, from that inner knowing that says, yes, this is aligned. You're working with universal forces instead of against them. You're riding the current instead of swimming upstream. If you're beginning to feel that difference between forcing and flowing, comment, I move with inspiration, not obligation. Now, there's another layer to this that most people completely miss, and it has to do with how you show up in every single interaction throughout your day. When you approach each encounter, every conversation, every exchange with genuine appreciation, you're doing something far more powerful than just being polite or positive. You're activating the law of reciprocal energy, one of the most reliable principles governing how the universe operates. What flows from you must return. And it doesn't just return at the same level. It returns multiplied by the universe's infinite intelligence. This means that every moment of genuine appreciation you extend creates a circuit through which abundance flows back to you, often in forms you couldn't have predicted or planned. You appreciate the barista who makes your coffee, and later that day someone offers you unexpected help. You genuinely thank a colleague for their work, and suddenly opportunities start appearing in your field. These aren't random. These are the mechanics of reciprocal energy in motion. The universe is reflecting back the frequency you're broadcasting through your appreciation, amplified and multiplied through channels you never would have consciously orchestrated. But here's the part that might challenge everything you think you know about manifestation. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing at all. Not in a passive, checked-out way, but in a deeply intentional way. Because the universe speaks most clearly not in the noise of constant affirmations, not in the mental chatter of endless planning, but in the spaces between thoughts and those gentle pauses between breaths where your mind finally stops talking and starts listening. Your ability to manifest depends far less on how loudly or frequently you declare your desires, and far more on your capacity to listen deeply to the subtle frequencies of divine guidance that are always trying to reach you. This is the bridge of silence, the sacred space where inspiration downloads, where solutions appear fully formed, where you receive the next step without having to figure it out through logic or effort. But you can't hear any of it if you're constantly broadcasting, constantly affirming, constantly doing. At some point you have to create space for the universe to respond. And that space is found in silence. This is why the most powerful manifestors aren't the ones talking about their desires nonstop. They're the ones who know when to speak and when to listen, when to act and when to be still, when to transmit their frequency and when to receive guidance from the field. In that balance between action and stillness, between speaking and listening, the true magic of co-creation reveals itself. If this is shifting how you approach your manifestation practice, right, I listen in the silence. And when you do enter that silence, when you finally quiet the constant narration of your struggles and stop rehearsing your problems on repeat, you discover something shocking. Silence is not empty. It's not void or absence or nothing. Silence is full, saturated with answers, packed with guidance, overflowing with intelligence that's been trying to reach you, but couldn't get through the noise of your mental chatter. When you create space through stillness, you're not withdrawing from life. You're making room for the universal response that's been waiting for an opening. Think about music for a moment. The pauses between notes aren't meaningless gaps. They're what give rhythm its power, what allow melody to breathe, what create the structure that makes music recognizable instead of just noise. Your life operates the same way. The silence between your thoughts, the stillness between your actions. These aren't wasted moments. They're the spaces where life's melody arranges itself in perfect harmony, where the next note becomes clear, where the rhythm of your manifestation finds its natural tempo. But there's something else that amplifies your manifestation power in ways that logic can't explain. And it's so simple that most adults have completely forgotten how to access it. Wonder, that childlike sense of awe and delight that used to come naturally before you learned to be serious, before you were taught that dreaming is impractical and joy must be earned. Your ability to manifest flows most powerfully when you recover those innocent eyes, when you allow yourself to be amazed by existence itself without needing a reason, Wonder elevates your vibration beyond the dense frequencies of worry and doubt, lifting you into lighter realms, where creation plays freely, where impossibilities become possibilities, where barriers between you and your desires simply dissolve because wonder doesn't acknowledge barriers in the first place. A child doesn't ask, "Is this realistic? Or do I deserve this? Or what will people think?" They simply want. And in that pure wanting, unmarred by adult complications, manifestation happens almost instantly. This isn't about being naive or irresponsible. It's about understanding that seriousness is one of the lowest vibrational states you can occupy, and wonder is among the highest. When you approach your desires with a sense of playful curiosity rather than desperate need, when you let yourself be delighted by the process rather than stressed about the outcome, you're operating at a frequency where the universe can actually deliver what you're asking for. Because at that frequency, you're not blocking it with resistance anymore. If wonder is awakening in you again, comment, "I see the world with new eyes." Now, there's an aspect of manifestation that takes everything we've discussed and multiplies its power exponentially. And it has to do with the company you keep both physically and energetically. When hearts beat in harmony, when multiple people align their intention toward the same frequency, they don't just add their power together, they create a resonance that's far greater than the sum of its parts. This is why synchronized spiritual intention generates transformative energy waves that ripple through the very fabric of reality with a force that one person alone could never achieve. Think about how a single voice sounds compared to a choir singing in perfect harmony. The individual voices are beautiful, but when they synchronize, when they find that unified field of resonance, the sound becomes powerful enough to move people to tears, to shift the energy of an entire room. Your manifestation works the same way. When you find even one other person who's vibrating at your frequency, who's holding a similar vision with the same clarity and faith, the unified field you create together receives exponential force from the universe. This is the hidden power behind masterminds, prayer circles, and any gathering of people who truly align their energy rather than just their words. But even before you find others to align with, there's something within you that's been waiting your entire life to be acknowledged. And once you tap into it, everything changes. There's a warm golden light that emanates from your center. And this isn't poetic metaphor or visualization technique. This is a tangible presence that you can actually feel when you bring your awareness to it. This inner radiance, this luminous core that exists behind your thoughts and beneath your emotions, serves as the control center for all your energetic expression. When you access this golden light at your center, when you rest your attention there and let it expand, you're not creating something new. You're touching the source of all creation itself, the part of you that's directly connected to the infinite field of possibility. This is where your frequency originates, where your vibration is set, where the signal that shapes your reality is first broadcast. Every external practice, every technique, every method ultimately points back to this center, to this radiant core that holds more creative power than any action you could take in the physical world. And from this place, from this golden center within, manifestation stops being something you do and becomes something you are. It's no longer about techniques or timing or getting it right. It's about returning home to the frequency you were always meant to embody. If you're feeling that inner light awakening, right? I am the source of my creation. And once you're operating from that centered place, from that golden core where your true creative power resides, something fascinating begins to happen with increasing frequency. You start noticing coincidences that feel almost too perfect to be random. The book you needed falls off a shelf as you walk past. The person who has the answer you're seeking calls out of nowhere. You think of someone and they text you minutes later. These aren't accidents, and they're not your imagination playing tricks on you. Reality is communicating with you constantly through meaningful coincidence, through synchronicity, through signs that most people dismiss as random but are actually energy taking form. This is your consciousness in active dialogue with the infinite field of possibility. And the more you acknowledge these signs, the more they appear. It's as if the universe is checking to see if you're paying attention. And when you prove that you are, when you start reading the language of synchronicity fluently, struggle begins to dissolve. You stop forcing your way through life because you're being guided through it. Doors open exactly when you arrive. The right people appear at the perfect moment. Resources show up just as you need them, not because you're lucky, but because you've learned to read the signs that were always there, guiding everyone, but that most people are too busy or skeptical to notice. But here's something that accelerates this entire process in ways that might surprise you. Compassion. Not the performative kind where you're kind because you should be, but genuine compassion that arises when you recognize that every person you encounter is fighting battles you see, carrying wounds you haven't experienced, doing the best they can with the awareness they currently have. When you extend that level of understanding to others, something shifts in your own frequency. You're not doing it for them really. You're redoing it for yourself, because compassion attunes your vibration to unity, consciousness, to the recognition that separation is an illusion, and we all expressions of the same source. When you free yourself from judgment's dense energy, when you stop making others wrong so you can feel right, you naturally attune your energy to higher frequencies of love and unity. And at those frequencies, manifestation becomes almost effortless because you're no longer creating resistance through criticism, comparison, or condemnation. You're flowing with the fundamental nature of the universe itself, which doesn't judge, doesn't condemn, doesn't separate. It simply creates, expands, and includes everything in its infinite embrace. If compassion is opening new pathways for you, come in. I see myself in everyone. Now, here's where everything we've talked about comes together in a way that might challenge your deepest instincts about how to get what you want. There's a paradox at the heart of manifestation that trips up almost everyone. And it's this: the tighter you hold on to your desires, the faster they slip through your fingers. The universe doesn't respond to the frequency of control, to that white-knuckled grip where you're trying to force outcomes and micromanage every detail. It responds to trust, to that open-handed approach where you hold your desires lightly enough that they have room to breathe, to evolve, to arrive in forms even better than you imagined. This is joyful detachment, and it's not about not caring or giving up on what you want. It is about releasing your iron grip on exactly how and when and through whom your desires must arrive. When you allow natural abundance to flow unimpeded by your need to control every variable, when you stop strangling your manifestations with desperate energy, everything shifts. What you hold lightly comes easily, flowing to you through pathways you never would have orchestrated. But what you grasp desperately, what you clutch with fear-based attachment, slips away precisely because that grasping energy is broadcasting lack, need, and distrust in the universe's ability to deliver. And here's something that's going to seem completely unrelated, but is actually at the core of why some people manifest health, vitality, and energy, while others struggle despite doing all the right things physically. Your body is not separate from your thoughts. It's not some vehicle you inhabit that operates independently of your mental and emotional state. Your body is the most immediate, the most honest expression of your inner frequency. Every single cell in your body is resonating with your inner state, responding in real time to the thoughts you think and the emotions you feel. When you align with lightness and joy, when you choose ease over stress and playfulness over pressure, your cells literally begin to sing a different song, not poetically, but biologically. Your cellular function changes. Your nervous system recalibrates. Your entire physical being transforms because it's taking its cues from the frequency you're broadcasting internally. This is why two people can eat the same food, follow the same exercise routine, and have completely different results. One is feeding their body while their mind is broadcasting stress, and the other is feeding their body while their mind is broadcasting joy. The difference in outcomes isn't about the physical actions. It's about the energetic context in which those actions are taken. If this connection between mind and body is becoming clear, right? My joy transforms my cells. Now, we're approaching the deepest truth of all, the one that changes everything once you truly understand it. You've been searching for love in all the wrong places, looking for it in relationships, achievements, external validation, waiting for someone or something to finally make you feel complete. But love is not a distant treasure waiting to be discovered out there in the world. Love is an inner frequency that you've always had access to. A vibration that's been humming at your core since before you took your first breath. The only thing you need to do is remember it, attune to it, and let it radiate outward from the source you've always been. When you finally understand that you're not searching for love, but that you are love itself in human form, everything transforms. You become a living transmitter of that frequency, and the power that flows through you when you operate from that recognition is beyond anything you can access when you still in seeking mode. The secret was never about finding love. It was about recognizing yourself as its source, about understanding that the love you've been craving externally has been broadcasting from your center this entire time, waiting for you to tune into your own signal. And when you do, when you finally align with that frequency of love, not as something you need, but as something you are, reality begins responding to you with a speed that seems almost supernatural. This is the instantaneous yes, the moment when your vibration remains so steady in delight, so unwavering in joy that the universe has no lag time between your desire and its manifestation. Reality responds with immediate precision because you finally removed every obstacle, every bit of static that was interfering with a signal. Mastery is not about learning more techniques or discovering some secret formula that nobody's told you about yet. Mastery lies in maintaining that unwavering connection to joy, regardless of what your current circumstances look like. When you can hold that frequency steady, when delight becomes your default state rather than something you access occasionally when things go well, your desires begin manifesting at the speed of thought. Not because you've earned it or because you've finally done enough, but because there's no longer any static in your signal. You're broadcasting clear, coherent, powerful, and the universe is responding in kind. If you're beginning to embody this level of mastery, common, I am love, and reality says, yes. Now, we're approaching the deepest truth of all, the one that changes everything once you truly understand it. You've been searching for love in all the wrong places, looking for it in relationships, achievements, external validation, waiting for someone or something to finally make you feel complete. But love is not a distant treasure waiting to be discovered out there in the world. Love is an inner frequency that you've always had access to, a vibration that's been humming at your core since before you took your first breath. The only thing you need to do is remember it, attune to it, and let it radiate outward from the source you've always been. When you finally understand that you're not searching for love, but that you are love itself in human form, everything transforms. You become a living transmitter of that frequency, and the power that flows through you when you operate from that recognition is beyond anything you can access when you re-still in seeking mode. The secret was never about finding love. It was about recognizing yourself as its source. About understanding that the love you've been craving externally has been broadcasting from your center this entire time, waiting for you to tune into your own signal. And when you do, when you finally align with that frequency of love, not as something you need, but as something you are, reality begins responding to you with a speed that seems almost supernatural. This is the instantaneous yes, the moment when your vibration remains so steady in delight, so unwavering in joy that the universe has no lag time between your desire and its manifestation. Reality responds with immediate precision because you finally removed every obstacle, every bit of static that was interfering with a signal. Mastery is not about learning more techniques or discovering some secret formula that nobody has told you about yet. Mastery lies in maintaining that unwavering connection to joy, regardless of what your current circumstances look like. When you can hold that frequency steady, when delight becomes your default state rather than something you access occasionally when things go well, your desires begin manifesting at the speed of thought. Not because you've earned it, or because you've finally done enough, but because there's no longer any static in your signal. You're broadcasting clear, coherent, powerful, and the universe is responding in kind. If you're beginning to embody this level of mastery, comment, I am love, and reality says yes. So, here we are at the end of this journey together. And if you've made it this far, you're not here by accident. You're someone who is ready to stop ignoring their power and start ignoring the limitations that reality has been trying to convince you are permanent. And that makes you exactly the kind of person I create this content for. The ones who are willing to question everything to shift their frequency to become the conscious creators they were always meant to be. If this resonated with you, if something shifted while you were watching, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, because this is UNG's another channel talking at you about manifestation theory. This is where we dive into the real mechanics, the hidden frequencies, the truths that actually work when you apply them. And there's so much more where this came from. Deeper revelations, more practical applications, ways to take what you've learned today and amplify it even further. And let me know you made it to the end by dropping a comment that says, reality bends to my frequency, because I read every single one and I want to know that this message landed with you the way it was meant to. If you found value in this, if something clicked into place, it's been trying to reveal itself for a while now, leave a like on the video. It helps more people find this content, and honestly it lets me know we reconnected on the same wavelength. Now, there is a video right here that takes what we've covered today and goes even deeper into how to maintain this frequency. When life throws challenges at you, it's the perfect next step. Click it and continue with me over there, because this conversation is just getting started.